My daughter is dying! My daughter is dying! My young mother is dying? She's dying! She's dying! I don't know what to do. Stop it, please! I need help!
This frantic 911 call was made by Crystal Candelario. Her voice is filled with panic as she cries that her 16-month-old baby daughter is dying. When first responders come to the house, they find little Jailyn unresponsive, her emaciated body lying on a dirty mattress. Her mother's behavior immediately raises suspicions. As they question her, her story starts to unravel. Crystal Candelario was born in 1991 in Ecuador, where she spent her childhood and received her education. Crystal became a teacher, following in the footsteps of her parents and grandfather. She later moved to America and lived in Cleveland, Ohio, with her 2 daughters and parents. Amaya, her eldest, was 7 years old, and Jailyn was 16 months. Crystal worked as a building substitute teacher at Citizens Academy Glenville, a local nonprofit elementary school. On Friday, the 16th of June, Crystal told police that she had found her daughter unresponsive at around 8 in the morning. First responders were quickly dispatched to the house. They found baby Jailyn unresponsive. She was emaciated and dehydrated. Her eyes were deeply sunken in, her lips were dry, and there was what appeared to be dirt around her mouth and fingernails. Investigators would later find out that this was, in fact, feces. The mattress she was lying on was full of urine and fecal matter, but her clothes were surprisingly clean. Emergency medical services tried to revive her, but despite their efforts, it was clear that the child had been dead for some time. When police questioned Crystal, she said that Jailyn had been refusing food all week, was only drinking milk, and had lost a lot of weight.
So that was just Monday and Tuesday of this week she was throwing up.
Yes.
And then how was she Wednesday and Thursday?
She was with no food, just with a meal, because she was refusing. Maybe it's because she get vomiting 2 days, before.
Yeah.
So that's why
What?
I was scary, because I say, oh my God, let me go to the hospital because she doesn't eat anything. She was lose tiny, her weight.
Yeah.
I lose, her weight. But right now, in this morning when I wake up, she was asleep. She sleep every day 12 hours.
Okay.
She sleep like at 9 p.m. through 9 or 10 a.m.
Okay.
12 hours. So, in this morning I was sleeping too. I never wake up. She was...
What happened? What was going on last night?
Last night she was crying a lot. And I see one moment when I was take a shower, and she was screaming like, I don't know, probably she get in pain.
Okay.
Maybe.
About what time was that last night?
Maybe at 7 or 8 p.m.
Okay.
So she was screaming like, probably with her pain or something like that. In this morning when I wake up, I took her in the morning for, Jailyn, wake up, and she wake up, and when I see her, I see she looks like a really, really dry, like a, ¿cómo se dice cuando una persona se chupa, o sea, se...
Kind of like...
Yeah.
Oh, like her thighs was sunken in?
So, yeah. Y ahí fue que yo me asusté y dije...
But as Crystal spoke, police noticed that her behavior was strange. While she had appeared distraught and was wailing on the phone, now she seemed very calm, detached, and unemotional over her daughter's death. Beyond this, her story wasn't making a lot of sense. If the child hadn't been eating all week and had been in pain, why hadn't she sought medical help? Why did Jailyn look dangerously emaciated and neglected? They take Crystal in for questioning. Sergeant Gomez and Detective Powell were given Crystal's case. They questioned Crystal, but she stuck to the same story. However, detectives knew that Crystal was hiding the truth. Unbeknownst to Crystal, her neighbor had a Ring doorbell camera with a clear view of the street, as well as Crystal's driveway and her doorstep. The Cleveland Police Homicide Unit had acquired over 648 hours of video footage from this camera, which they carefully went through. The video showed Crystal arriving home just 30 minutes before the 911 call on Friday, proving she hadn't been home as claimed. What's more, she arrived alone without Jailyn. So, detectives already knew that she was lying to them. The camera had also captured the moment Crystal had left the house and driven off about 10 days ago. For that entire period of time, no one had gone in or out of the house. 16-month-old Jailyn had been alone at home for almost 2 weeks. When investigators track Crystal's movements, they cannot believe what they find.
Yeah, we have you on video. Your car coming home at 7:36 in the morning. What time are we going to see you leaving your house and when? What's the video going to show us? When we look at this video some more.
Okay. Yeah.
Cuando nosotros empezamos a ver el video, okay, ¿qué ese video nos va a enseñar a nosotros? ¿A qué hora tú saliste de tu casa y cuándo? Nos está enseñando tú regresando a las 7:36 de la mañana. Pero ¿a qué hora tú te fuiste? ¿Y qué día? Piénsalo bien, porque el video nos va a enseñar, el video no miente. Okay? I'm telling you, think about it really good because the video does not lie. What is the video going to show us? Is the video going to show us that you left your house on Friday? Because it's showing you coming back, but when is it showing you leaving? Because we're going to look at the video and it's going to show us and it's not going to lie. Think about your answer.
Probably realizing that they had her cornered, Crystal confesses. She admits that she left Jailyn home by herself while she went off on vacation with her boyfriend and friends. Her parents, who would usually watch the two girls, were in Ecuador on vacation with Crystal's eldest daughter. On the 4th of June, Crystal had gone to Michigan for 2 days, leaving Jailyn at home alone. A man she was seeing lived there, and she had gone to spend time with him. She returned on the 6th and prepared for her trip to Puerto Rico. She put Jailyn in her small playpen with some crackers and a couple of bottles of milk. She left the same evening with a large suitcase. Airline records showed that Crystal flew out to Puerto Rico on the 8th of June, where she met up with another man she was seeing. As Jailyn starved to death, her mother shared vacation pictures where she appeared to be having a great time with her boyfriend. Carefree pictures on her Facebook page appear to show her having fun on a beach in Puerto Rico, with the caption in Spanish, "The time that is enjoyed is the true time lived." On the 11th of June, Crystal flew back from Puerto Rico but didn't return home. Instead, she went back to Michigan to see her other boyfriend. She stayed with him for the next several days until she finally got home on the 16th and found Jailyn dead. Before she placed the 911 call, Crystal changed Jailyn's clothing and cleaned her up. But it wasn't enough to hide the horrifying state the child had died in.
A baby girl died after being left home alone for days while her mother went on vacation. This is a story we've been following since last summer. Now, the mother pleading guilty in court yesterday. Now, on Just One Station, Brittany Weir sat down with her defense attorney, who is blaming mental illness as a key factor in this deadly outcome.
Jailyn Candelario left her 16-month-old daughter home alone for days while she traveled to Detroit and Puerto Rico. And when first responders arrived at the home, they found the baby girl dead in her pack and play.
Crystal was charged with Jailyn's death and taken into custody. While she was locked up, she talked to other prisoners about her trip to Puerto Rico and made plans for her future. When friends and family called, she told them about how she had a blast on her holiday. At no time did she demonstrate any guilt or remorse over the death of her daughter. It was like it had never happened at all.
Neighbors who live along West 97th Street in Cleveland are heartbroken about what police say unfolded inside this house.
We just couldn't believe that she was gone.
31-year-old Crystal Candelario is charged with murder in connection to the death of her daughter.
They watched the baby many times.
This neighbor and her daughter asked not to be identified.
Jailyn, she was a happy baby, always smiling, always curious about stuff. She was wonderful. She was just a wonderful baby.
According to Cleveland Municipal Court records, Candelario told police she left her 16-month-old daughter home alone and unattended while she went on vacation to Puerto Rico and Detroit. And neighbors told me this is not the first time Candelario has left the baby home alone.
We keep telling her not to leave her by herself. Not only me, my friend across the street too. But she always be here by herself.
Neighbors told me she lives here with her 2 daughters and her parents. Her parents recently went on vacation and took Candelario's older daughter with them.
There were so many people here. She could have knocked on any of our doors and asked us to take care of Jailyn, and we all would have.
On February 22, 2024, in a surprising turn of events, Crystal pleaded guilty to aggravated murder and child endangerment as part of a plea deal, which allowed her to avoid a trial. At her sentencing hearing, the prosecution stated that Jailyn had died a horrible death. They played footage sourced from the Ring doorbell camera, which had captured the sound of Jailyn crying in the early hours of the morning, 2 to 3 days after her mother left. The medical examiner who had conducted Jailyn's autopsy shared her findings.
Unfortunately, this is one of the most tragic and unfortunate cases I've had in my career thus far. So today I speak on behalf of her and her findings with the course of my examination. We received Jailyn at the medical examiner's office from the scene of her residence, at which time she was clothed in non-soiled clothing, indicating her body had likely been dressed prior to first responders' arrival, as they had mentioned before. So at autopsy, I examined the body of a very emaciated female toddler. At this point, she weighed 13 pounds. Upon review of medical records, this indicated approximately a 7-pound weight loss since her previous doctor's visit less than 2 months prior to that. The eyes were sunken, and she had temporal wasting in her face. In addition to that, the skin showed markedly decreased turgor, meaning when I pinch the skin, it remains in that tented position, indicating severe dehydration. In addition, there was abundant fecal material present, caked on the fingers, the fingernails, the hands, the feet, as well as the soles of the feet. The same material was found on her lips, which were very dry and flaking, as well as in her oral cavity, caked to her teeth.
The autopsy revealed that Jailyn had died of starvation and severe dehydration, enduring unimaginable suffering. The little girl had tried to survive in any way possible. Her internal organs showed signs of stress. Her kidneys had failed, and she was in a state of ketoacidosis, which led to coma and then death. Jailyn had been dead for 2 to 3 days before she was found, indicating that she had survived for up to a week before tragically passing away. Dr. Elizabeth Mooney summed it up.
As such, I determined the cause of death to be just that, starvation and severe dehydration due to pediatric neglect. This feeling of abandonment for days on end, coupled with the pain of starvation and extreme thirst, is a type of suffering I don't think any of us could ever fully fathom.
Speaking of Crystal's behavior after her daughter was found dead, the prosecutor said,
and then she's so overwrought with emotion on June 17th that she picks up and goes back to Michigan to meet up, not with the guy that she had gone to Puerto Rico with, but the other guy that she was seeing. Animals take care of their infants better.
The evidence against Crystal was damning. It showed a lack of remorse and complete negligence in fulfilling her responsibilities as a caregiver. Crystal's attorney did not excuse her behavior, calling it selfish and abhorrent, but he mentioned that she was struggling emotionally and was overwhelmed being a single mother of 2 children. He blamed her bad decisions on her mental state, saying Crystal had stopped taking medication for mental illness, which affected her mood and judgment. At her sentencing, her parents showed up in her support. They said that they would always love her and that they forgave her. In Spanish, Crystal's mother gave a defense of her daughter and spoke about her struggles in life. She said tearfully,
Hija querida, cuánto te amo.
My beloved daughter, I love you so much.
Lamento y me arrepiento
I lament and I am
por no
so
haber
sorry
por no haber detectado lo que estabas viviendo.
for not having detected what you were going through.
No leí tu corazón.
I could not see what was in your heart.
No me percaté del caos
I didn't notice the chaos
por el que estabas atravesando.
that you were going through.
Lamento ahora, hija de mi vida, causarte este dolor.
I lament my darling daughter that I caused you this pain.
Señores de esta sala,
Your Honor,
pido misericordia,
I ask for mercy.
clemencia y compasión
I ask for mercy, for clemency, and for compassion
para un ser humano
for a human being
que ha librado una dura batalla en su vida.
that has waged a very difficult battle in her life.
Y ruego no satanizarla,
And I beg that you not
ni señalarla.
I beg that you not demonize her and point the finger at her.
¿Quién en esta vida no ha pecado contra Dios?
Who in this life has not sinned against God?
Que levanten la mano quienes no lo han hecho.
Anyone who hasn't, let them raise their hand.
Crystal herself made a statement. She spoke about her mental health issues, but said that she knew it wasn't an excuse for what had happened. She said that she prayed for forgiveness every day and knew that God and Jailyn had forgiven her. Judge Sheehan could have sentenced Crystal to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years, likely the sentence that the defense was hoping for. Instead, he chose the maximum penalty, sentencing Crystal to life in prison with no possibility of parole.
You could have saved Jailyn's life many times. You could have found someone to watch her while you were gone. You could have taken her with you while you were in Detroit or Puerto Rico. You could have called someone in Cleveland and told them that Jailyn needed help. Dr. Mooney indicated that rigor mortis was found when they found her, which means she didn't die that long before you came home. Think about that. Despite all of her suffering, that little baby persevered, waiting for someone to save her. And you could have done that with a simple phone call. Instead, I see photos of you on a beach while your child was eating her own feces in an attempt to survive. Photos mean something. And I'm well aware of mental health, but it didn't look like you were too concerned about your child. As if that wasn't bad enough, you extended your stay in Detroit without regard to Jailyn, alone, in pain, clawing her face in distress from the exhibits I just looked at, trapped in a tiny prison that you left her in. You got home, you knew enough to start lying. You concocted story after story, trying to hide what you did. You even put pants on her But you couldn't hide the absolute horror and filth that she spent the last days of her life in. You still didn't get it. I hear this morning that you went out and managed to go out with someone that you were with, and he was too upset to eat, but you weren't. And then I hear that you're in jail and you're telling people, I can't wait to get home. I look at remorse. I hear, except for the acceptance of responsibility, no remorse. As a court, I have to remember Jailyn, where you did not. Just as you didn't let Jailyn out of her confinement until she died, so too, you should spend the rest of your life in a cell without freedom. The only difference will be that the prison will at least feed you and give you liquids that you denied her.
The case of Jailyn Candelario is tragic and unbelievably sad. Baby Jailyn didn't get to live her full life and was betrayed by the very person who was supposed to show her love and take care of her. But in her short life, she touched many lives. Everyone involved in her case was impacted by her. When giving his testimony, lead detective T.J. Powell said that Jailyn would never be forgotten. He had a poem that he had written to commemorate her short life.
J is for the justice that'll be received today. A is for the angel wings she earned on that dreadful day. I is for the incremental repetition, build-up of suspense, for an innocent bystander's death that clearly makes no sense. L is for the lack of love while alone for 11 days. Y is for a young life that was taken away. N is for new eternal life Jailyn gained on that day. No child should ever have to die this way.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you found it interesting, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Your support means a lot to us and helps us more than you know. This is Sarah Everard, captured on CCTV just moments before she goes missing. She's on her way home from visiting a friend, but Sarah never makes it home that evening. As police search using ANPR and CCTV footage, they notice the same vehicle appearing multiple times in different locations along Sarah's route. Is this car the link to Sarah's disappearance?